Johnny Carson ruled late night with a steel grip behind that easy smile. The Tonight Show's venerable host welcomed thousands through Studio One's doors, but a select few earned permanent exile from television's most coveted couch. Carson's relaxed demeanor masked a fierce protector of his domain, a man who drew the line when guests trampled his hospitality. From unhinged behavior to backstage threats, these celebrities learned the hard way. Cross Johnny Carson and your career lost access to 15 million nightly viewers forever. Number 1. Wayne Newton. Carson's playful jabs about Las Vegas entertainers typically landed with audience approval. His writers delivered a particular zinger. Las Vegas is installing brighter stage lights because Wayne Newton's hair needs photosynthesis. The crowd roared, but Newton's ego couldn't absorb the hit. With millions invested in his Aladdin hotel and carefully manicured image, Newton's business interests suffered with each punchline. In 1980, security cameras captured Newton storming NBC's Burbank facility, unannounced. He pushed past reception, silk shirt unbuttoned to mid-chest, fist clenched white. Staff scattered as he burst into Carson's office during pre-show preparations. "These jokes about me will stop now, or I'll kick your ass," Newton growled, standing over Carson's desk. Johnny stayed seated, ice calm, then reached for his phone. "Security, please remove Mr. Newton from the premises. Permanently." The network's response proved swift. Newton's photograph appeared in security booths with red-stamped instructions. No access under any circumstances. That evening's monologue eliminated every Newton reference, not from fear, but from principle. Carson explained to producer Fred de Cordova, "Nobody threatens me in my own house. Nobody." The banishment became legendary among Tonight Show staff. Newton's name vanished from booking considerations, and talent coordinators learned to avoid even mentioning him. The message traveled through Hollywood at lightning speed. Physical intimidation meant career suicide on NBC. Behind the scenes, Newton attempted reconciliation, sending elaborate gift baskets to Carson's Beverly Hills home. Each package returned unopened. When Newton approached Carson at the 1986 Emmy Awards, Johnny simply turned his back and walked away, champagne glass in hand. Industry insiders whispered that Carson held two unforgivable sins: threatening his physical safety and undermining his authority in his own studio. Newton had committed both in a single afternoon. "You can recover from bombing on the show," Tonight Show writer Pat McCormack later revealed. "You can recover from almost anything in this business, but threatening Johnny? That was professional suicide." The irony didn't escape industry veterans. Newton's attempt to protect his image created a far more damaging narrative. As his Vegas star continued rising, the permanent Tonight Show blacklist cast a shadow over his national appeal. Carson never spoke publicly about the ban, enhancing its mystique. His silence proved more damaging than any monologue joke could have been. Number 2. Zsa Gabber Gabber floated onto set in 1968 with a Shih Tzu tucked under her arm, a direct violation of Carson's no surprise animals policy. The dog, initially calm, spotted Ed McMahon's sandwich during commercial break and leaped from Gabber's grasp. "Darling, come back to Mama," she called. But the dog was already devouring lunch, scattering lettuce across the polished floor. Carson watched tight-lipped as crew scrambled. When cameras returned, he maintained composure, even as the dog jumped on his lap, leaving paw prints on his immaculate suit. "Your little friend is quite the performer," Carson quipped. Audience. Howling Gabber replied, "He loves you, Johnny. I shall bring him every time." Carson's smile froze. Backstage, he exploded to producers. "This isn't a petting zoo. Next time she brings livestock, she's banned." 2 months later, Gabber arrived with a Persian cat hidden in her purse. Midway through the interview, she revealed her surprise. The cat hissed, scratched Carson's hand, and urinated on the iconic desk. Blood visible on his palm. Carson cut to commercial. When they returned, Gabber sat alone. "Miss Gabber has left to tend to her pet," Carson explained smoothly, but his decision was final. Gabber never received another invitation despite numerous attempts from her publicist. Carson issued a studio-wide memo. No uninvited animals. No exceptions. No Zsa Gabber. What viewers didn't witness was Carson's backstage reaction. Makeup artist Gina Roberts remembered. Johnny never cursed on air, but backstage, that desk had been with him since New York. He treasured it. When that cat did its business, "I heard words I didn't know," Johnny knew. The damage extended beyond the mahogany surface. NBC prop masters spent 3 days extracting the smell from the desk's wood grain. Producers calculated the cost of the segment. One ruined suit jacket, desk restoration, and Carson's goodwill. Gabber's publicist launched a 6-month campaign to restore her booking status, sending written apologies, replacement furniture, and even a gold-plated desk pin. Carson's response arrived via NBC legal department. "Mr. Carson appreciates Ms. Gabber's interest in returning to The Tonight Show. Unfortunately, we maintain a strict policy regarding surprise animals. This policy is non-negotiable." The formal language masked Carson's actual words to producers. "I'd rather interview a cactus." at least it would stay put. The band entered Tonight Show lore when Doc Severson's band created a running joke. Each time Gabber appeared in tabloids, they'd play 3 notes of Here Kitty Kitty. During rehearsals, Carson would grin and mime wiping his desk. The inside joke continued for nearly a decade. Number 3. Buddy Hackett. Hackett's late-night appearances became legendary for pushing boundaries. But his 1976 visit crossed even Carson's generous line. The comedian arrived 3 sheets to the wind, slurring slightly during pre-show makeup. Carson, sensing trouble, whispered to producers, "Keep his segment tight." The warning proved prophetic. Hackett began, innocently enough, discussing his Vegas residency. Then, without warning, he launched into a sailor joke so explicit the control booth scrambled for the delay button. Before they could react, Hackett delivered 3 punchlines that threatened NBC's broadcast license. "Jesus Christ," muttered the floor director. Carson, ever the professional, laughed politely while discreetly signaling the band, "Doc Severance," and began playing. But Hackett raised his voice, determined to finish his story. Carson leaned forward. "I think we need to wrap this up, buddy. I'm just getting warmed up, Johnny," Hackett boomed, launching into another off-color anecdote involving a nun and a sailor. Khan's face remained pleasant for viewers, but his knuckles whitened around his pencil. The telltale sign staff recognized as imminent eruption. The commercial break couldn't arrive fast enough. Backstage, Carson confronted network censors. 3 FCC violations in 4 minutes. That's a record even for us. The censors looked grim. The phones are already lighting up. Carson made his decision before removing his makeup. Buddy Hackett goes on the list permanently. The band remained intact for 15 years. When Carson approached retirement, Hackett's agent pleaded for one final appearance. Johnny's response was simply, "Some bombs can't be defused twice." NBC switchboards logged 312 complaint calls that night, the second highest in Tonight Show history. Affiliate stations in the Midwest threatened to delay the program if standards continued deteriorating. Carson, who prided himself on sophisticated adult humor that stopped short of vulgarity, took the complaints personally. Johnny never censored his guests, recalled head writer Raymond Siller. He believed in creative freedom, but Buddy crossed into territory that wasn't just pushing boundaries, it was dynamiting them. The situation worsened when newspapers reported Hackett's intoxicated performance. Sponsors demanded explanations, and NBC executives called emergency meetings. Carson, who typically avoided network politics, made a rare appearance at the conference table. "Gentlemen," he began, "I've hosted this show for 14 years without incident. Last night wasn't a miscalculation, it was a complete breakdown. Mr. Hackett won't return during my tenure." The word tenure silenced every executive in the room. Carson's contract negotiations were approaching, and his leverage remained absolute. If banning Hackett preserved Carson's relationship with NBC, the comedian would stay banned. Hackett learned about his exile through Hollywood channels. Initially dismissive, his attitude shifted when subsequent bookings on MV Griffin and Mike Douglas materialized, while Tonight Show invitations vanished. His manager's calls to NBC received polite deflections. "We're booked solid through next quarter." The pattern continued until Hackett finally understood his Tonight Show career had ended. Number 4. Frank Sinatra. Sinatra's 1975 booking came with a 3-page writer that raised eyebrows throughout Studio One. Among the demands, pre-approval of all questions, camera angles limited to his good side, and the stipulation that Carson stan Sinatra entered. Producer Fred DeCordova delivered the list to Carson, who scanned it silently, then dropped it in his wastebasket. "Tell Frank we're happy to have him without conditions." Sinatra's team balked, but eventually agreed to a compromise. No pre-approved questions, but Carson would preview topics. The appearance seemed set until rehearsal, when Sinatra's manager interrupted Carson's monologue practice. "Mr. Sinatra would like to enter from stage left, not right." Carson looked up from his cards. "We always bring guests from the right." "The camera set up, Mr. Sinatra insists."